Hello there and welcome to Yaoundé, and we are on GP Media. We are talking about the AFCON 2021 being played here in Cameroon in the year 2022. It's few hours after the defeat of the Indomitable Lions by the Pharaohs of Egypt through penalty shootouts. That game took place at the Olembe Stadium. And with me to talk about the AFCON, we're having Afeseh Apong, who is a fine journalist and analyst when it comes to sports. Hello and welcome to this AFCON update, Afeseh Apong.
Thank you, Anota. It's a pleasure being part of the AFCON review and preview program on GP Media today.
We are a few days to the end of the 33rd edition of the AFCON here in Cameroon. Your first take on the level of the organization of this competition?
Well, I think so far so good. The organization of the competition has been good, despite some few issues we've had. Like for instance, we had a situation where the third place game and the final were scheduled to take place on the same day, but thanks to the intervention of the local organizing committee, they had to switch the third place game to Saturday, and that already put some teams to take part in the game in a difficult position. Like Cameroon, they won't have enough time to rest before they play the third position game. We've seen a team like Egypt who are complaining that the finals of the competition to be pushed forward to Monday so as to give them enough time to recuperate, because a team like Senegal, they will have not only a one-day race ahead of Egypt, they already have 30 minutes of extra time plus penalties of race more than Egypt, because Egypt's game against Cameroon went to extra time, and it's the second consecutive game for Egypt. In fact, the third consecutive game in the AFCON for Egypt that is going for extra time and post-match penalty shootout, because the game against Ivory Coast in the eighth finals, it went to the penalty shootout. Their game against Morocco in the quarterfinals went to penalty shootout. Their game against Cameroon went to extra time and post-match penalty shootout. So you understand that those are some of the difficulties we face. We've also had difficulties like games that were initially scheduled to take place in some stadiums being pushed forward to other stadiums. But apart from that, I think so far it's been a fairly well-organized competition.
Now, we want to talk about the two finalists. We have players who are playing in the English Premier League. They have been termed as the best players in the world. We're talking about Mo Salah as well as Sadio Mane. What kind of finals are you preparing to see? You said Egypt wants the final to be pushed on Monday, but first of all, do we think it can actually be shifted? Is it possible?
It's not possible for the finals to be scheduled or to be pushed forward to Monday, because
But we have had other games, like the game of the third position has been shifted.
Yeah,
Is it a possibility that the finals can also be shifted?
that's a different scenario, because the third place game has been shifted. But when you look at the finals, I think Egypt has enough time to rest and recuperate and prepare for the game. They have more than 48 hours of rest. After the game, the semi-final game was played on Thursday. They have Friday to rest. They have Saturday to do their reconnaissance session, and of course Sunday for the game. It's more than enough time as stipulated in the football rules and regulations needed for any team to recuperate and play. So I think it's but normal for them. Now, talking about the final itself, bringing together two Liverpool players in Mo Salah and Sadio Mane, probably the two of the best forwards we have in the world right now. And it's going to be interesting, and a game that is going to catch the attention of so many football fans, not just in Africa, but out of Africa, especially in England. We know that England is a football-loving country, and the fact that these are two most influential players in the English Premier League precisely for Liverpool is definitely going to bring in more viewerships on the game come Sunday. But you look at the two players, I think they've all been of impact to their teams in the African Nations Cup. Sadio Mane in their last game against Burkina Faso in the semi-finals, we saw him. He provided 2 assists, scoring a goal for himself, and that's the same thing he has done in the previous games. Mo Salah too has been influential. It's true that the game against Cameroon in the semi-final didn't really live up to expectation, but that we also have to applaud the expertise and how Nuhu Tolo handled Mo Salah throughout the game. So I think it's going to be a game for us to watch out for. Two teammates who always combine to help Liverpool win trophies and win games, but now there are going to be two enemies on the field of play. That's how football is. You have your brother, the two of you play in two different teams, but of course when you face each other, you are enemies for 90 minutes or 120 minutes, and after that, you can become friends again. I think that's the game of football, and it will be interesting to see how the two players will behave. This also already gives us a preview or a test of what we are expecting when Egypt and Senegal will meet in a month's time in the qualifiers for the FIFA World Cup to take place in Qatar 2022, because the two sides were paired together. So this already gives us a preview of what we should be expecting when the two sides meet in a month's time. But I think it's going to be an interesting game. Egypt, who are hunting for their 8th AFCON trophy, they've won 7 already. They are the kings of Africa when it comes to that. They succeeded in knocking off Cameroon because Cameroon wanted to mount pressure, because if Cameroon won and had a chance to play the final, Cameroon could have been fighting for their 6th continental title, which means they are just one behind Egypt. But now Egypt has a chance to go 3 trophies ahead of Cameroon. Meanwhile, Senegal, they are coming here. This is what we call the golden generation of Senegalese footballers. They won't want to go the same way like the golden generation of 2002 that lost the finals to Cameroon. Senegal, they've played the finals of the African Nations Cup 2 times. 2002, they lost to Cameroon out there in Mali. 2019, they lost to Algeria in the finals in Egypt. This time around, they're bent on rewriting that history for Senegalese football.
Anyway,
Aliou Cissé has witnessed all the finals. Aliou Cissé was captain of Senegal in 2002 when they lost to Cameroon. Aliou Cissé was coach of Senegal when they lost to Algeria in 2019. This time around, he's the coach of Senegal, and he wants to be part of that Senegalese cream of players who are going to rewrite history for African football, for Senegalese football.
for sure, on Sunday, it's either going to be Salah or Mane that will be going home with a trophy. And, our focus here, we want to talk much about the Lions. Despite their defeat, they still have a lot to face. For example, the World Cup is coming. We've always had issues that when the Lions do not perform well at the Nations Cup, the World Cup is always, a consoling arm to come and consult and reunite the Lions with their supporter. And you've talked about at the level of organization, we've seen a lot. Matches have been shifted from one stadium to the other. From the first calendar, the Lions were supposed to play the quarterfinals in Garoua. The semi-finals was to be played in Japoma in Douala. But a lot of things happened. Maybe you tell us something from your observation, what actually happened, why some of these, some persons said that if the Lions to play in Garoua, the stadium is small, just 30,000 capacity is small for the Lions. But yesterday we saw a stadium of a 60,000 capacity that had just about 20,000 fans. So what went wrong?
I think we should also look at the cost. I think CAF, in collaboration with the local organizing committee, also wanted to limit costs, because taking the game to be played far off in Garoua means you have to put a lot in terms of transportation.
But other places there, I mean, like the quarterfinal that Burkina Faso played against Tunisia, that was supposed to be the final quarterfinals of Cameroon, the first calendar that us media men had.
Yeah, well, it depends. Programs are always modified. We can't really get into the details. Us speaking here, we don't have the details why it happened that way. I think the local organizing committee and CAF are in a better position to explain. But I think if we want to talk maybe about the Indomitable Lions and their exit from the African Nations Cup home, it's just a repeat of what happened back in 1972, the first time Cameroon hosted the competition. Unfortunately, they couldn't win at home, and it's definitely going to be a long run for Cameroon. It will take some years before Cameroon will host such an event again for the Lions to try. It's rather unfortunate that they exited the competition. But one thing we should note here is that Cameroon leaves the competition with, the competition, the only team undefeated, because no team has defeated Cameroon throughout the competition. They lost on post-match penalty shootout, which was already at extra time.
Senegal is still to be defeated too.
Yeah, Senegal is still to be defeated. I mean, I'm talking about the team that have been eliminated already.
Okay.
Senegal is in the competition.
But Cameroon can be defeated during the third position too, so you should not take your conclusion now.
It's a tough one for Cameroonians to take. The Lions played impressive football, even more than many would have expected. The national team of Cameroon, many always believe that Cameroon has always played sluggishly, but we saw Lions attacking, but then they were not really clinical in front of goal. And remember, in our previous edition here, I made mention of the fact that the team that's going to win the game, Cameroon versus Egypt, is the team that's going to stay compact at the back, that's defending very well, and clinical in front of goal, making good use of all the few chances they had. And we saw Egypt yesterday. They didn't really offer much going up front, but they stayed solid at the back. They defended as one team. They pushed the game to post-match penalty shootout. And we should look at the records. The records are clear. Egypt has not lost any of their last 4 penalty shootouts at the African Nations Cup. They won against Ivory Coast in Douala. They won against Cameroon. And you look at the previous games that they've pushed to post-match penalty shootout. So the Egyptians, they more or less knew that if the game goes for post-match penalty shootout, we have good penalty takers, and we have confidence that our goalkeeper is definitely going to pick one of the few penalties. That's it. Cameroon, unfortunately, won't be winning their 6th African Nations Cup title, which would have been great if that was done at home. But they have yet another opportunity to show that they could live up to expectation when they take on Burkina Faso on Saturday in the 3rd place game.
Afeseh, when you look at the game of the quarter or the semi-finals against Egypt, we noticed that there was a lot of lapses when it comes. The Lions did their own part, but the level of the fans, we didn't see the fans actually being present. Even though the few that came to the stadium, they did their best. But in a 60,000 capacity, what explains that the stadium was actually not up to, because when we saw the other games being played at the Amadou Ejo Stadium, that was not even Cameroon being played. We had close to about 30,000 people who came to the stadium, but now we had a 60,000 capacity stadium. Cameroon is playing. Was it because of the too much security? Because the last game that was played there, we had about 40,000 to 50,000 people who came to watch the Lions.
I must tell you, the security checks were just too many. And people wouldn't want to take that risk of coming to the field, given the fact that that was the first game we were playing at the Olympic Stadium after that unfortunate incident of January 24, the stampede that took away about 8 lives and left many other injured. I mean, it already scared many people from coming to the stadiums, not to talk about the same Olympic Stadium that will give them memories of what happened on January 24th. So I think it kind of played a role in hindering the turnout of supporters, and coupled with the security checks, I mean, it was really, really challenging. And people know that when it reaches the level of the semi-finals of the competition, to leave the stadium maybe late at night and maybe have access back to your residence is definitely going to be tough.
People prefer to watch it on TV.
Watch on TV at home and maybe in nearby places that are closer to home.
As a Cameroonian, were you disappointed with the performance of the Lions, or are you disappointed with the performance of the Lions at the 33rd edition of the AFCON?
Well, no emotions into it. The Lions did their best. It's a game of football. We have 2 options in football, especially when you reach the knockout phase. It's not a group phase where you expect that a draw can salvage some points for you. When you reach that stage of the competition, you have 2 options: either you win or you lose the game. So any options that comes your way, you have to accept, and you congratulate your opponent because they did what you were not able to do. As Antonio Conceição said, they lacked just some few little details that could win them the game, and that's what happened. I think the players, they gave their best, and were satisfied with their performances. I think you look at players like Faye Collins, Jean-Charles Castellito, Nuhu Tolo, and some few others like Martin Honla, who showed some signs of brilliance. Karatoko, Ekambi, they really lived up to expectation, and we should be proud of their performances. As for the others, I think there is always time for improvements. No time for us to mourn about the defeat. We have a big job coming up against Algeria in less than a month's time. They have a game on Saturday, which is an opportunity to rewrite the wrongs, and I think Conceição should give more playing time to those who didn't really play the previous game, so that on Saturday in front of the public here at the Amadou Ejo Stadium, they can also show us what they're capable of doing.
All right, thank you very much, Afeseh Apong. It was a pleasure having you on this edition of AFCON Updates on GP Media.
Thank you, Arnold. It's always a pleasure being part of your show, and I think after this competition, we are going to bring more details of what happened throughout the competition.
Thank you, and keep watching GP Media, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube.
AFCON 2021 updates on GP Media. Please hit the subscribe button below.